in the media conference with Lal Goyal, which is brought to you by V4 News, Global TV, V4 Stream, Malnadu TV, News Gaon Se, Samvad Sarokar News, Organ Donation India Foundation and Gyan. Our endeavor is to enlighten you with the current topic. And today our topic is role of youth in NGOs. We can't help everyone, but everyone can help someone. There are no areas where no NGOs are going, but there are vast areas where very few NGOs are going. Organizations which are independent of government involvement are known as non-governmental organizations or non-government organizations or NGOs. NGOs are a subgroup of organizations founded by citizens, which include clubs and associations that provide services to their members and others. NGOs are usually non-profit organizations, and many of them are active in humanitarian or social sciences. Surveys indicate that NGOs have a high degree of public trust, which can make them a useful proxy for the concerns of society and stakeholders. However, NGOs can also be lobby groups for corporations such as the World Economic Forum. According to NGO.org, the non-governmental organizations associated with the United Nations, I quote, NGO is any non-profit voluntary citizens group which is organized on a local, national or international level, task-oriented and driven by people with a common interest. NGOs perform a variety of service and humanitarian functions, bring citizen concerns to governments, advocate and monitor policies, and encourage political participation through provision of information, unquote. Russia had about 277,000 NGOs in 2008. India is estimated to have had about 2 million NGOs in 2009, approximately 1 per 600 Indian, many more than the number of countries' primary schools and health centers. The term NGO is used inconsistently. It is sometimes a synonym of a civil society organization, any association founded by citizens. NGOs are known in some countries as non-profit organizations, and political parties and trade unions are sometimes considered NGOs. NGOs are classified by orientation and level of operation. Orientation refers to the type of activities an NGO undertakes. Activities may include human rights, consumer protection, environmentalism, health, or development. An NGO's level of operation indicates the scale at which an organization works: local, regional, national, or international. International non-governmental organizations date back to at least the late 18th century, and there were an estimated 1,083 NGOs by 1914. International NGOs were important to the anti-slavery and women's suffrage movements and peaked at the time of 1932 to 1934 World Disarmament Conference. The term became popular with the 1945 founding of the United Nations. In 1945, Article 71, Chapter 10 of its charter stipulated consultative status for organizations which are neither governments nor member states. An international NGO was first defined in Resolution 288 of the United Nations Economic and Social Council on February 27, 1950, as, I quote, any international organization that is not founded by an international treaty, unquote. The role of NGOs and other major groups in sustainable development was recognized in Chapter 27 of Agenda 21. The rise and fall of international NGOs matches contemporary events waxing in periods of growth and waning in times of crisis. The United Nations gave non-governmental organizations observer status at its assemblies and some meetings. According to the United Nations, an NGO is a private, not-for-profit organization which is independent of government control and is not merely an opposition political party. 20th century globalization increased the importance of NGOs. International treaties and organizations such as the World Trade Organization focused on capitalist interests. To counterbalance this trend, NGOs emphasize humanitarian issues, development aid, and sustainable development. An example is the World Social Forum, a rival convention of the World Economic Forum held each January in Davos, Switzerland. The fifth World Social Forum in Porto Alegre, Brazil in January 2005 was attended by representatives of over 1,000 NGOs. The 1992 Earth Summit in Rio de Janeiro, attended by about 2,400 representatives, was the first to demonstrate the power of international NGOs in environmental issues and sustainable development. Transnational NGO networking has become extensive. Although NGOs are subject to national laws and practices, four main groups may be found worldwide: unincorporated and voluntary association, trusts, charities and foundations, not-for-profit companies, entities formed or registered under special NGO or non-profit laws. Recently, Intelligence Bureau in a report accused foreign-funded NGOs of serving as tools for foreign policies interests of Western governments by sponsoring agitations against nuclear and coal-fired power plants and anti-GMO agitation across the country. The NGOs are said to be working through a network of local organizations to negatively impact GDP growth by 2 to 3%. According to the report, a significant number of Indian NGOs funded by donors based in US, UK, Germany, and Netherlands have been noticed to be using people-centric issues to create an environment which lends itself to stalling development projects. It alleged that Greenpeace was leading a massive effort to take down India's coal-field power plant and coal mining activity by using foreign funds to create protest movements under coal network umbrella at prominent coal block and coal-fired power plant locations in India. The Intelligence Bureau said that foreign NGOs and their Indian arms were serving as tools to advance Western foreign policy interests. Greenpeace aims to fundamentally change the dynamics of India's energy mix by disrupting and weakening the relationship between key players, the IB report said. In April 2015, the government of India shared a list of over 42,000 NGOs with Financial Intelligence Unit to check suspicious foreign funding amid the crackdown on some top international donors for flouting the Foreign Contribution Regulation Act 2010. These 42,273 NGOs were put under watch after intelligence reports claimed that several charity organizations are diverting funds for purposes other than the permitted use of foreign contribution. The list includes NGOs operating in religious, cultural, economic, social, and educational field. For the first time, the government has clearly defined the sectors in which it has listed Christian, missionaries, Hindu, Sikh, and Muslim religious groups receiving foreign contributions besides other activities of NGOs in which funds are claimed to be utilized. There is also suspicion that money launderers can use the legitimate route to wire illicit money. Many of them are Christian missionaries and other religious groups who are found to evade taxes. Following the inquiry, permits of about 8,875 NGOs have been revoked for a variety of reasons, ranging from non-filing of returns of non-compliance with Foreign Contribution Regulation Act (FCRA), If NGOs works without any self-interest, then they are boons for the society. The integrated development of the nation depends on healthy youth. Their role is prominent in all aspects of the development process of the nation. Therefore, youth should be directed in the right way through which they should develop new ideologies of development. The greatest happiness in the world is to make others happy. And to discuss this very, very important point, the topic is role of youth in NGOs. We have a very learned, experienced chief guest today, and she is Miss Sarita Jadhav. Miss Sarita Jadhav is the National Program Officer of UNESCO based at New Delhi. She is a development specialist with more than 20 years of experience in public health, strategic planning, coordination program management, research, advocacy, and partnerships in United Nations, bilateral and international development agencies. She possesses technical expertise on sexual and reproductive health, gender-based violence, HIV and AIDS, with a particular focus on human rights, gender and young people. She has a master's degree in social work and a bachelor's degree in law from Utkal University, Bhubaneswar. Welcome, Ms. Sarita Jadhav on our show. Ms. Sarita Jadhav, you are associated with UNESCO, which is in one way, it's number one NGO in the world. Now, you know that in the past, NGOs have played a very, very key role for the development, upliftment of the socially backward community and educating those who cannot afford. But recently, the NGOs came in the scanner. We cannot go in the merits, whether they're right or wrong. But as per the our present government, few of the NGOs misused their power. And that's why it has become a bit controversial about the NGOs. But definitely the role of NGOs is very, very important for any country, any society, any community. So we would like to know from you the role of youth in NGOs. Ms. Sarita Jadhav, please.
Thank you, Dr. Goel, for that kind introduction. And very good morning to you and all our young, my co-panelists who are here, the group. I can see them, extremely young people, and it's a pleasure and an honor to be with all of you today. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, please.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, so yes, as you mentioned, I think none of us can undermine the role of NGOs. When we talk about development, when we talk about social welfare, when we talk about implementation also, NGOs have an extremely important role to play. And all of us need to work together. And I'd just like to say that NGOs have a very important role to play. I work with UNESCO, and I work, we are a multi-country office. We work in 6 countries in the region, including in India. And I would just like to say that we work with the government on policies, on programs, but at the end of the day, we always look for partnerships and alliances with NGOs, with civil society, because we cannot ignore them. The government can't do everything on their own. The UN can't do everything on their own. And the NGOs can't do everything on their own. What is really needed are strategic partnerships and alliances where we can all work together for the betterment of our country, and who better than the youth today. And it's extremely a pleasure to see all the young people here as in the audience. And I'd be happy to, share about the work that we do and how young people can also contribute and collaborate and do something meaningfully in the development sector. But before I go in and start my whole talk about the role of young people in NGOs, I'd just like to start with a small story. This is about 15 years ago. I was working with the United Nations program on HIV and AIDS, which is the UNAIDS. And I happened to visit, I was working with uniformed services with the police and the army and the defense forces. And I happened to visit one NGO in Nellore, which is a district in Andhra Pradesh. It's a coastal district. And I go in there and I interact with children. These are children who have been deserted. They don't have families. And what do? They play on the streets, they beg, and they play in cremation grounds. You know, kids as old as 4, 5, 6, they all play in cremation grounds. They play with skulls and bones, playing cricket, and they have skin infections and diseases. A lady in that particular district is very moved. She is very compassionate. She's moved. She sees these young children and she comes and talks to the SP of that particular district, Mr. B.V. Ramana Kumar. I still remember his name. And she comes and she says, sir, we need to do something about these children. They are all over the place. They are neglected. They don't have education. There's no health care. There's nothing. And you will be amazed. Mr. Ramana Kumar said, okay, let's do something. There were about 20, 30 children. They were all taken by the police into the guest houses. They were bathed, they were provided food, they were given health care. Every police officer in that particular district gave 1 day of their salary for these children. These children were then admitted into schools. And when I went and saw these project, the children, when I interacted with them, you should see the joy of the kids. They were shining, they were smiling. And I asked them, what do you want to be? Ma'am, I want to be a doctor. Ma'am, I want to be a teacher. Ma'am, I want to be a police officer. So the point I'm trying to make, my dear friends, is that each one of us has the power to change. Each one of us has the power to touch lives. Here is a beautiful story of a brilliant officer. He didn't have to do it. I asked Mr. Ramana Kumar, saying that, sir, what was your motivation? You are a police officer. You are into law and order. Why did you do this? And he told me, and I still remember his words. He says, Sarita, when I am 60, when I look back and when I want to see what have I done, how have I contributed to society, I have received so much. I don't want to have a blank face or a blank answer. Each one of us has a role to play. We have to contribute. We have to give back to society about what we have received. And this touched me a lot. And ever since then, I keep asking myself the same question. It is not about what do we do as part of our work. Each one of you must be engineers, computer scientists, but I think we have a very important role to play when we think about giving back meaningfully to society, to people, to others who are less privileged than us. So this is how I want to start. And if you permit me, I'd just like to say that young people, all of you are young people over here. And all of you know that young people are the largest group in the structure of a society in our country right now, which clearly means that young people are a valuable asset of our nation. And young people need to be nurtured and mentored so that we can all be a proud generation. And today's talk focuses on the participation of youth in NGOs. I'd just like to say that all of you might be already aware that right now India has its largest ever adolescent and youth population. Do you know we have almost 258 million adolescents right now in our country? And if we talk about young people, we would be about almost 368 million. Every fifth person in our country is actually a young person. And India will continue to have one of the youngest populations in the world till 2030. And we all know that this provides us a window of opportunity. And this is a demographic window of opportunity, a youth bulge that will last until 2025, 2030. We have several challenges. There are various development challenges, including access to education, gainful employment, gender equality, child marriage, accessing youth-friendly health services. There are issues such as adolescent pregnancy also. Yet, with investments in participation of young people, in the investing in leadership of young people, we firmly believe that young people can transform the social and the economic fortunes of our country. It's extremely important. When we talk about young people and the role of SDGs, all of you know about the Sustainable Development Goals, the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. And today, across the world, there are about 1.8 billion people between the ages of 10 to 24. And this is like history. This is the largest generation of youth in history. So I'd like to say that close to 20% of this 1.8 billion live in developing countries, and they make a huge proportion of the country's population. Young people are right now, as we are seeing each other, we are connected to each other like never before. And young people want to contribute. And contribute to what? Contribute to the resilience of our communities by proposing innovative solutions, driving social progress, and inspiring political change. All of you here as the audience, you are agents of change, let me tell you that. And you can mobilize and advance and contribute to the attainment of the Sustainable Development Goals. And you can improve the lives of people and health of the planet. I think this is so powerful. Imagine the power. And we are all here. We would be happy to provide you with the necessary skills and opportunities needed so that you can reach your potential, and all of you can be a driving force for supporting development and contributing to peace and security. Dr. Lal has already very kindly mentioned about what are these NGOs. He's mentioned about what are the different types of NGOs, whether we're talking about trusts, whether we're talking about foundations, and different, the work that NGOs do. I'd just like to say that NGOs basically are bodies which function free from the control of the government. And they are said to be not-for-profit government bodies who work for the welfare of societies. Do you know, as of now, we have almost 35 lakhs, close to 3.5 million NGOs in our country. And a large part of them are in Maharashtra and also in Uttar Pradesh. The government of India had this very interesting collaboration called the NGO Partnership. This was based at the Planning Commission, now the Niti Aayog. And the whole intention was to bring about an interesting partnership between the government and the voluntary sector and foster better transparency, efficiency, and accountability. Some of it has already been touched by Dr. Goel. Now, if I am to tell you about, how NGOs came into being, and if we go into the past history of NGOs, earlier what happened is that, people in our country believed they wanted to help each other, and they wanted to help each other in need. And then there were people who also firmly followed religion, and they wanted to give services. There were many rulers in our country who also started doing charity and serving human lives, and they believed that God would give them more and shower his blessings upon them. So somewhere between the 18th to the 19th century, people started forming many organizations and associations to provide services in more organized and structured manner. And one of these examples of these organized and voluntary work, which was done there, was, involved the reforms that came out in the 19th century. Reforms such as, which were brought in for the betterment of society and to fight social evils like child marriage, untouchability, sati, caste system, and much more. Of course, Gandhiji, while fighting against the British rule, also wanted to fight against these social evils that were prevailing in our Indian society. And he participated in many of these movements to fight back these social evils. Thereafter, many NGOs were inspired by the Gandhian ideologies, and they started working in many parts of the country. And I wouldn't like to name any particular NGO, but they were based in Gujarat and many other parts. Also, we've seen that, after independence, the processes like urbanization, industrialization, modernization increased. And these processes made the people more alert, more aware, and more worried about the inequalities such as gender equality. There were economic inequalities, social inequalities, child labor, problems of widows, child marriage, etc. So overall, the NGOs were developed with an intent to help the disadvantaged groups, to basically help them, make them more aware so that they could face the ongoing challenges much better, design strategies and help these people to come out of their problems and struggles. There are so many issues in our country. Now, just very quickly, I'll just tell you about the brief functions of our NGOs. What do they do? So NGOs, because as young people, I'm sure all of you have questions and all of you need information about what do NGOs do. I mean, some of it we already know that they have a very important role to play in the development sector, but NGOs have a very important role of bridging the gap. What do they do? The NGOs plug in the gaps between the government programs and reach out to sections of people who are often untouched, who can't be reached out by the government schemes and policies. So they provide aid, they provide services to the people who are far away. Some of the NGOs are also engaged in diverse activities related to human rights, labor rights, gender issues, healthcare, environment, education, legal aid, and also research. Now, Dr. Goel has also mentioned that I was earlier working with UNAIDS, which is the United Nations program on HIV/AIDS. Just to give you an idea, so the government has policies, we have policies and programs, but ultimately, who are the people who are providing the services? It is the NGOs who are providing the services. Specifically to do with, if I was to give you an example of HIV and AIDS, who are the NGOs? They are providing the services. Yes, the testing facilities, the medical facilities are being given by the government. But when it comes to services, taking care and support, giving targeted interventions for people who are most vulnerable to HIV, who are the people? It is the NGOs who are providing the support, and they have a very important role to play. So the NGOs also play the role of an enabler. So as I mentioned that, NGOs reach out to the communities, they work with self-help groups, and they also try and endeavor to bring about change in the ground level, in the grassroots level. And in the past, grassroots organizations have been enabled by collaborations with the bigger NGOs. The smaller NGOs can work with the bigger NGOs, and there are, they access funding through the bigger NGOs and they implement the work at the ground. Also, one important role of NGOs is they act as pressure groups. There are many NGOs that mobilize public opinion about government policies and actions. Like, for example, the government of India, the Ministry of Education. Earlier, it used to be the Ministry of Human Resource Development. Now we have the Ministry of Education. So we made, the ministry made a policy on education, but ultimately the NGOs got together. They got the people together. They got people to review the policy, to give feedback. And then they collated all the information and the feedback from the people they reach out to, from the groups that they serve, and they provided this to the government. So they basically try and influence government policies and actions. So sometimes NGOs are able to educate the public, and they also act as important pressure groups in a democracy. They also mobilize, community mobilization, as you all might be aware. They also mobilize and organize the poor people, the needy people, the target audience that they reach out to demand quality services and impose a community system to accountability on the performance of government. Many times, because I work in this sector, there are so many people. We have almost 25 lakh people living with HIV in our country. Many times there are issues and challenges. If I am a positive person and I'm not getting my medicines, where will I go to? I may not have the means to go to the government and ask NACO, the National AIDS Control Organization, or the Ministry of Health, saying that, sir, I don't have access to medicines. I don't have access to ARTs. So what will I do? I will reach out to my closest NGO, and the NGO advocates for me and says that, look, there are so many people, they don't have access to medicines or drugs. Government, wake up, provide these services. So they advocate on our behalf. So they have a very important role to play. They mobilize the communities to come together. And one thing is they participate in governance. So there are many civil society bodies, there are many civil society organizations who have done path-breaking work. whether it has been on education, whether it's been on environment, whether it's been on women's rights, whether it's to do with health issues. So they have a very important role to play. They often act as a social mediator. They are involved in mediation between different agencies. They bring different partners together and advocate with a common voice. So I would say overall benefits of working for an NGO can be many. It is also very satisfying in terms of goals. We are able to contribute. And I think what is really important is, since we are talking to young people, I think it is important to inspire. It is important to inspire young people to give back. Not at any age. We don't have to be 50 to give back to society. We can be 15, we can be 25 and yet give back. We can make a meaningful contribution to our society. And just to tell you that all of you young people are extremely powerful. You are very, very powerful change agents, and you have enormous potential to bring about positive changes in society. And many NGOs, prefer to work with young people. Why? Because you have bright ideas, you are full of energy, you are full of enthusiasm. And when there is a lot of youth engagement, when there is a lot of youth involvement, greater impact can be done at the grassroots level, because you are the future leaders who will spearhead the sustainable development processes. We at the UN, we definitely acknowledge that, without involving today's young people, it is absolutely difficult to achieve the sustainable development goals. So your role is extremely important. And, basically the UN, when we talk about young people and youth and building on a global convening role, the United Nations is very uniquely placed to act as a source of protection and support for young people. And we provide a platform through which their needs are addressed, where your voices can be amplified and your engagement can be advanced. Whenever we are sitting with the government, with the policy makers, we always make sure that young people's voices have to be heard. We cannot ignore the voices of young people. It's extremely crucial. And we fully, as the United Nations, we fully embrace young people's diversity in all its forms. And we definitely believe that young people are the right holders, and we promote and facilitate, transparency, accountability, responsiveness. You are very, very powerful, and we have a responsibility towards all of you. Now, very quickly, I'd just like to just leave a few thoughts about why young people and what is your role in NGOs. I'd just like to say that, all of you have a very important role to play. Young people, youth in NGOs, in development, and in achieving the sustainable development goals. Why? Because you are critical thinkers. When you are young people, you can share your personal experiences by asking questions about the world around you. You have the capacity to identify and challenge existing power structures. You can question about the barriers. What are the barriers? What can be changed? And you can expose the contradictions and the biases that are existing. You are also the change makers. You have the power to act and mobilize others. You can work with NGOs, you can work with communities. All of you must be aware that youth activism is on the rise all the world over. And it's all bolstered by the broader connectivity and access to social media. We all know the power of social media. So all of you are connected, and youth activism is a very important, factor right now. You are all innovators. In addition to bringing in fresh perspective, young people have direct knowledge and insights into issues that are not accessible to adults. That is your advantage. And you understand, you know what your problems are. You know what problems you are facing. You know the problems of our society. You can offer new ideas and alternative solutions. You are also communicators. Outside the international development sector, few people are aware that world leaders have come to a historic, far-reaching agreement to improve the lives of people and the planet by 2030. And young people, all of you young minds, young brains can be partners in communicating the development agenda to your peers and communities at the local level. You are also leaders. When young people are empowered with the knowledge of their rights and equipped with leadership skills, you can drive change in your communities, in our country. Youth-led organizations and networks in particular should be supported. You all have a role to play in that. You can support them, you can strengthen them. And because there is great power in partnerships and working together, and you can contribute in lift, you can contribute the marginalized people, you can contribute communities that need it. So I think, I mean, just to tell you that, yes, you have a very important role to play in, in the 2030 agenda, into the national, local, regional policies also. So you have a very significant role in the implementation, monitoring, and you can hold our government accountable. You have the government, you have different agencies working for development. You can hold us accountable. And young people have the potential to make the most effective transformation. And transformation of what? Making this world a better place for everybody. And I just like to say that whether we give our time, our talent, our financial resources, our human resources, but giving back is a response to feeling grateful for the blessings we have been given. I think all of us have received a lot from our parents, from our teachers, from the society, from our communities, from our country. It is time that we give back. And there is no age. All of you are bright. You've got the best brains. You think about how you want to give back to society. You have been extremely blessed and privileged, and you need to give back. And every drop counts. So I'd like to end with that.
Every drop counts, says Ms. Sarita Jadhav. And I will just say one sentence of whatsoever she has spoken, because she has spoken in a very, very informative, inspirational, and motivational way. I will just say that if you are working for an NGO, it's a pursuit of happiness. Because what eternal happiness you are going to get, or anyone is going to get, they will not get with tons of money or whatsoever higher education we have. We require, because as she has mentioned very rightly, that whatsoever we have been provided by the society, we must give back to the society. And youth have, you all the youths, those who are participating today or those who are viewing our program, they have the ability to do that thing in a very, very effective manner. Thank you very much, Ms. Sarita Jadhav, for giving your inspirational and motivational thoughts today. Now, I would like to invite my youth guest, and my first youth guest is Mr. Ellen Chaco Nelson. Mr. Nelson, you have heard what our chief guest, Ms. Sarita Jadhav, has spoken. Now, we would like to know from you your views of role of youth in NGOs. Mr. Ellen Chaco Nelson, please.
Yeah.
First, introduce yourself and then speak. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Lalgol sir. Good morning to everyone. I'm Alan, and I have a few 3 years of experience in working in the development sector with an NGO called Barefoot College, which spans around 90 plus countries. We again work on poverty alleviation, working on access to education, providing rural livelihoods, and trying to address the sustainable development goals. So as Sarita ma'am rightly pointed out, we NGOs have a multidimensional view on poverty alleviation when it comes to governance, education, providing rural livelihoods to the people, and thereby adhering towards reaching to the point of reaching the UN SDGs. So the current state of NGOs is that since as NGOs they grow bigger and bigger, the gaps are more prominent between the other small agencies which collaborate with the NGOs. So it calls for a shift in focus towards meeting with the current trends. So that is where the youth comes into the picture, because when it comes to the evolution and growth, or when it comes to the access to technology and making it sustainable. And as Sarita ma'am pointed out, they are very creative and adds a fresh perspective to the entire plethora of new age development, this, what we call it, so and the youths are less affected with caste barriers. Like in the villages, when you're working, there are elder people who are again bound by the society and the social bubble of casteism, gender biasness. So the youth who are educated, they are not bound by this, and they are, in a way, they help in disrupting this entire system, bringing about a large scale of impact. So a few examples which I can give you from my experience was when I was working with education in teaching rural kids in sports and soft skill development. It helped me to interact with them because since I was a youth, there was not much of an age gap between me and the kids. So I was able to understand them. And they told me this one thing, that the city kids are so blessed and privileged with all the opportunities in the world. Bhaiya hame bas ek mauka chahiye. So that is the thing that we as youths are able to do, is be that access, provide them that platform, and they are able to bring a lot of change. So second small story was when we were developing a solar coffee roasting machine. Coming from an engineering background, I was just an engineer on paper. That is when I realized working with the rural people, because they have so much of wisdom. So I had to do a lot of unlearning. So once we are able to unlearn and relearn is when we are able to work together as a single unit. So that is another thing which brings into the picture of development, is harmonizing development together with the rural people. So in that way, you're able to bridge the gap of the rural and urban divide. So youth, since they are disrupting the system, they adds to the spider web of association towards solving new age problems. And as Lal Goyal sir pointed out, that India has the highest youth population in the world. So NGOs, they have their own vision, mission, and they provide platforms for grooming and empowering rural youth to become change agents in the society. And they are able to be the voice for the people, because there are certain barriers for the rural people which they are not able to go ahead and approach, or they are not even aware of the government schemes that is available, because there's a gap in the information. So they can become that gap, that people who are able to fill those gaps. So the qualities that a rural youth brings into the picture of development is that they are willing to work outside their own comfort zones. Money might not motivate them towards their pursuit towards helping and giving back to the community. uh, they have the heart to unlearn and relearn by respecting both the rural and urban wisdom, and taking them together in this vehicle of change. They are able to come up with global solutions, that is solving global problems with using local solutions. So in that way, you're able to have a co-creative collaborative model where you're working together. And they're mostly empathy driven. So in that way, you're able to have a systems thinking and harmonized thinking when it comes to development. So these are the few things which I could come up with from my side as what the role of youth would be in NGOs.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nelson, for giving your views. And I'm sure your what you have given your thoughts are also very, very, very inspirational. And especially what you mentioned about that youth can understand the problems, grassroots problems, and they can fill up the gap between the big NGOs as well as the underprivileged society. Thank you very much, Mr. Nelson, for giving your views. I would like to invite my next youth guest, and she is Miss Dilsa Edarturi Dinesh. Miss Dilsa, you have already heard what our chief guest, Miss Sarita Jadhav, as well as earlier youth guest has spoken. Now, we would like to know from you the role of youth in NGOs. Miss Dilsa, please.
Am I audible?
Yes, please. Please introduce yourself and go ahead.
Namaste, my name is Dilsa Ertodi Dinesh. I am a grade 11 student studying at Kulapati Munshi Bhavans Vidya Mandir Potor. I'm from Thrissur, Kerala. I'm really honored to share this platform with eminent personalities such as Lal Goyal sir and Ms. Sarita Jadhav. It was great hearing you both speak. And Sarita ma'am, your story has completely moved me and touched me. So thank you so much for that. Whenever I hear the word NGO, the very first thing that comes to my mind is service. Service to mankind, the act of giving. And I think providing people with something wholeheartedly when they are in their hardest times, it is one of the wholesome things a person can do in their lifetime. And this act of giving does not only benefit whom we are giving, but also the giver. It fills our hearts with content and the feeling of joy, which is beyond words. And this is the very core of NGOs. And I strongly believe that NGO is a platform where youth involvement is crucial because their time, their energy, their compassion, and active participation can bring immense change in the ground. And this, they can bring immense change in the ground. And this is why the youth are known as the backbone of the society and future of the change. There are about 400 plus youth led NGOs worldwide, and they all work for different causes, ranging from education, health, environment, women's rights, basic human rights, and also in ensuring social justice to the minority community, the transgenders, the LGBTQ community. All these are important, and youth can lead us to reach these goals. Now, there is this certain notion that we young people often experience in this field. We feel that we need to become older, we need to reach a certain level in life in order to bring change in the society. But that is not true. We can start now itself. No matter how young you are, or the fact that you're still growing and is in the pursuit of achieving your goals, you can still create change because you make a difference. Your presence make a difference. Your simple act of kindness can actually bring a smile in someone's face and change their life for good. Youth Alliance, Jerry India, Youth India Foundation, Restless Development India, all these are examples of youth led NGOs who are making a big difference in the society. NGOs need youth because youth are aware of the need of the hour. Youth know what the society needs at the present and what it will need in the future. They accept and respect the differences that exist in the society. No matter your caste, religion, race, color, gender, or even sexuality is, we respect it and we accept it. And therefore, we youth are able to help and reach your basic human rights. And we ensure that no one is deprived of their basic human rights and their basic amenities. So, youth uh, are the most crucial and the most important part in the working of the NGOs and in bringing change to the society. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Dilsa, for giving your views. Yes, you rightly said that there is no age limit. How young you are, you can do. I would like to inform all the viewers that the youngest environmental activist from India in the whole world she is only 10 years old now, not even 10 years, rather I will say 9.5 years, because she was born on 2nd October 2011, and her name is Lisipriya Kanjugam, and she is a child environmental activist. Although we all have heard the name of Greta, Miss Greta, who is doing the work for the environment, but in India also. So it's a thing of that age. It's a number. If you decide to give back, you can very well give back, and that you rightly said. Thank you very much, Miss Dilsha, for giving your views. Now I would
Thank you,
like to go for my next youth guest, Miss Rachel Mary Paul. Please unmute yourself. Ms. Paul, you have heard our chief guest, Ms. Sarita Jadhav, as well as our earlier youth guest. Now, we would like to know from you the role of youth in NGOs. Please Please introduce yourself and then go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. I am Rachel Mary Paul. I'm a class 11 student. I'm pursuing biopsychology. Before I begin, I'd like to thank Lal sir and Paul sir for this opportunity. And I would like to thank our chief guest for her very illuminating words. I was introduced to the concept of Model United Nations when I was 12. And my teachers gave it to me with the promise that it will enable me to make the world a better place when I grow up. Now, I believe that promise and I still do. But why I'm telling you this is, as part of months, we are expected to suggest solutions for the problems we face. And in every committee I have been, that is problems ranging from refugee crisis to substance abuse, the solutions that the candidates give always include the role of NGOs, government teaming up with NGOs, and the role of youth, the sensitization of youth and their activities. I think we've all wondered, we all have a notion, as the former speaker said, that we have to grow up, reach a level to make a change, to do something. But the UN defines youth as as people between 15 to 24 years of age. So clearly, I'm part of the demographic. And the term NGO, non-government, non-profit organizations, have been known to me for years. So now I realize it's not my age or the level. Right now, what I can do is the one thing that can help me make a change. So my promise ticket to enable myself to make the world a better place. The solution for all global crises involves, in fact, the involvement of youth, my involvement in NGOs. So the greater involvement of youth in the NGOs not only benefits the community alone, but also their socio-economic environment, the youth's own capacity and personal development. Pearl S. Buck says, the young do not know enough to be prudent, so they attempt the impossible and they achieve it generation after generation. That is why our participation, the youth participation, is seen as a means and an end. Only active and informed participation by young people, it is our last chance at making India a developed nation. The type of participation in NGOs that I'm talking about can range from consulting and consensus to helping in lawmaking to partnership, evaluation, execution, and management of the schemes, the policies made. And as the first speaker said, this is easily done by us since we are immune to the prejudices and the stereotypes that has been inflicted on our society for the past centuries. We can break those boundaries and move ahead and make a bigger change. But as David Thoreau said, youth gets together with their materials to build a bridge to the moon or a palace on earth. But by the time it's middle age, they build shelters or a woodshed. So with the end of youth, this drive should not dry up. So for that, youth should be engaged not just with governments or policy making, but in all aspects of society. We must be able to get down to the grassroots levels of society so that those experiences that we get set the stage for us to continue with this involvement in NGOs throughout our adulthood and probably into old age too. Um, as the chief guest said, NGOs are not just socially active groups, they are pressure groups. They can call for mobilization. And I think all of the youth, we all have this fire, this anger against the corruption in our country, the frustration of the inefficient administration mechanisms we have. We all want to do something. So rather than going along the negative path, let's all channel that fire, that energy into pressure, mobilizing pressure and mobilizing support for social causes. Let's try to enable those people who are unaware, sensitize them, gather their support, and try to bring a positive change. Another thing why youth should be enabled, youth should be involved in the work with NGOs is we are the ones who can actually say what are the problems that we are facing. Since the youth is the temple of our future, their development is important, and we alone can say what problems we're facing, what solutions we need. If we can communicate this, proper measures can be taken for the development of the entire youth of the country. And another thing is the government schemes that are developed, not just government, any other schemes that are developed that are meant for the rural areas, for the underdeveloped areas, they never reach the target site properly. The youth, we can get down, we can go down to the deepest levels and ensure that when a scheme is set, its benefits reach everybody that it targets. even though I say all this, I cannot say that there is no participation from the youth in NGOs. There was so much increased participation of the youth in work of NGOs that the UN has started the Youth Steering Committee to advise it on actions to be taken regarding the youth. And as a Malayali, I have very personal experience of what the youth can do for the society. We are a state that does not face a lot of climatic issues. And when 3 years ago we were hit by the flood, it was a big shock. None of the generations had experienced this in Kerala. It was about 100 years ago that the last flood had come. In this occasion, it's not the wise old people or the small or anybody else, but the youth that rose to the occasion. They gathered enough support, enough materials. They kept their cool and they formed a plan, and everything was executed perfectly. The governments provided support. We needed help from the central government, but I must say, most of the crisis could be managed within us, and that is thanks to the youth. This had even led to the formation of an all youth led NGO called Anbodu Kochi. There are various other youth led NGOs all over the nation and even internationally. The UN, United Nations Young Adults Program, youth education programs, there are a lot of youth led NGOs, but still there are also challenges against youth joining NGOs. There is very little space for social activity by youth. And there are concerns. There is a lack of political recognition for NGOs led by the youth, a lack of funding, a lack of promotion. If these could be dealt with, more people could be involved in this. And the involvement of more people is very necessary, since, as our chief guest said, every drop counts. I would just ask every parent who is watching this to provide an opportunity for their children to step into social work, because in our country there is very little scope for you to naturally go into social work. You have to have an innate desire, because after 12th, even the most modern progressive parents prefer you to join either for medicine or engineering. There is no scope for social work. In America and all, the culture permits children to work to earn their own pocket money. Here it's considered derogatory. Independence is derogatory. Let's make a shift in that culture, because that change in the mindset can lead to more people joining this movement to help NGOs. And that can lead to a much brighter, more developed nation, in my belief. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Paul. And really, it's a fire in belly you have. And what you have mentioned, I need not to comment anything. I will just say, God bless you and keep doing what you are doing. Thank you very much. Now I would like to go to my next youth guest, and she is Miss Raj Lakshmi. Miss Raj Lakshmi, you have heard our chief guest, Ms. Sarita Jadhav, as well as earlier youth guest. Now, we would like to know from you the role of youth in NGOs. Ms. Raj Lakshmi R, please.
Thank you, sir. First of all, I would like to introduce myself. I'm Raj Lakshmi R, currently postgraduate student in English Language and Literature at Al-Azhar College of Arts and Sciences, Todupura. So I would like to begin my thoughts, like to share my thoughts about the topic role of youth in NGO by starting what is the importance of youth in our society. So youth in our society, or be it any society or country, it is considered as the future of our country or our nation, primarily because, as it's already been discussed in the previous sessions of the online sessions, that's due to the demographical composition, that's of the 65%, and thereby which needs to their contribution towards the development. So, and it is also noted that our country looks up to the youth with so much of expectancy or anticipation. The reason why I believe I was invited to share my thoughts for such a session. So that shows, so that underlines the undeniable fact that what kind of role the youth have to play in the generations to come, or in such a situation. So the thing or the fact that I would like to mention is that youth becomes a vital section of the society. That is, they both have the eyes of our adult generation, as well as we have the responsibility to set a good example for the younger generations to come in. Okay, so regarding the NGOs play an important role in the social development of the community, be it in a state-wise manner or a national-wise manner. And for a proper development of the country or region, there is an immense importance to be brought in terms of education, awareness to the people about their rights and duties. And the best thing that one could do to divert the education or awareness is that, first of all, we should be having that education and awareness in order to impart the same to the sections of the society. And I guess as youth, we will be the better persons as we are a balanced figure who has access to knowledge, who have the education, who have the technical expertise, and also as one of our earlier, one of the youth guests, Ellen George, said that we have unbiased views about the sections of the society. So we'll be able to do our best to forward the same to bring out much of more development in a good sense. Then next thing is that the question which could normally arise is that, isn't it the duty of the government that it should, it's quite debatable, that is why is there a need of an NGO as the governments are meant to function or serve the society. So I would like to cite the it's to bring up the example of a utopian concept, that is it is modeled on or aiming for a state where everything is perfect and idealistic, but such a thing doesn't exist actually. So instead of pinpointing out the downfalls of this government and their schemes, why don't just youth as us, which includes me, could start or could just one that, like Rachel said, why could we just ignite our fire within ourselves and let us be the action that just puts forward the effort. Okay, so and similarly, and as mentioned, an idealistic nation doesn't exist. So if our government and the youth could go in hand, which is the role of the NGOs, what I mean, so that could actually lead to a condition or a country with much of a lesser problems in at hand. Okay, and the youth's characteristics and NGOs' importance intertwine with each other. That could lead to a better nation, and I could cite examples for the same too. With citing that the youth, that as already mentioned, they are educated, they have access to technology, they are aware of the happenings in the society, they have that vigor and enthusiasm within them, so they would like to voice their thoughts and bring a change to that. As far as an NGO is concerned, they provide this function, that is they function freely from the control of government, and they accommodate free spirits and innovative ideas, and as boundaries could kill their enthusiasm, which is necessary for youth. So this would be, I guess, NGO would be the best venture or thing that youth could get themselves involved into. And NGO needs efficient and effective group of professional members who are able to keep supporters informed, motivated, and they should be able to help to plan and host demonstration events that will keep the cause in their media. And without, I need not explain about that. Everyone who are attending this session would be able to know what youth will be doing to do from their part too. And
Yeah.
next, I would what I would look like to say is they are non-profit
Please,
governmental.
please conclude.
Sure, sir. And if I would like to make the conclusion, it is like I would like to quote the Gandhi's famous quote, that is, "Be the change you wish to see in the world." So instead of waiting for someone to take the step or take the initiative, why can't the youth ourselves just let our thoughts put to action? So. And for that too, we need to channelize our thoughts, and we need the support like these sessions. We will have to have such conferences coming up in, and we will have to have an NGO for an NGO to give us a clear cut idea so that how we could channelize our thoughts to actions. That's all, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Raj Lakshmi. And I appreciate one view which you have mentioned, although you have mentioned every good things, but one, that youth are unbiased. Please keep yourself unbiased. If you are unbiased, you can do wonders for the society. Thank you very much, Ms. Raj Lakshmi. Now I would like to invite my next youth guest, and she is Ms. Sabina. Ms. Sabina, you have already heard our chief guest, Ms. Sarita Jadhav, as well as all earlier youth guests. Now, we would like to know from you the role of youth in NGOs. Ms. Sabina, please.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir, for having me. Am I audible, sir?
Feeble, just speak loudly, please.
Yeah, okay, sir.
Yeah, bring.
Today's topic that is role of youth that is in NGO. And what I'm saying is, first we had charity and all our people, that is our elders, they used to give portion of amount to the that is church and mosque and temple, because these people used to help other people, that is poor people and all. But now we have NGOs and all, so these people do that is their work, that is church and the mosque and the temple, what they used to do. So this work these NGOs doing now, and these NGOs, they are going after poor people, and they give education to poor people, and they give basic needs to poor people, and even they make disabled people as able people by motivating them, by making their by making them as members of NGOs, and it motivates them. So what we have to do is, as a younger, what we have to do is, we have sufficient money, but what we are doing is, we don't know where we have to give, and where we have to spend, and for whom we have to give. Most of the time we are spending crores of rupees to our holy places, that might be constructing or rebuilding our holy places, that might be church or the mosque or the temple. So we are spending crores of rupees. So what my perception is, rather than spending money over there, we can spend this money to help poor people and to educate poor people, because the holy places always remain as holy places, because we won't see whether it is new or old. So we respect, and we offer prayer over there. So we have to see these poor people, we have to go after them, because helping them and improving them, it's not only helping them, it is our country development. If they have if they develop themselves, it means our country developed. So what I say is, we have to see, as a youth, we need not to say that is in our country how many NGOs are there, or how many government schemes are there to help poor people. We have to see that is in our surroundings, how the people are how what basic needs they have, whether they are sufficient with basic needs, whether they are getting all the basic needs. We have to see our surroundings, we have to see our neighbors, we have to see our friends, then we have to see our relatives, then we have to see our city, next we have to go other city, next we have to see state, next we have to see other state. We have to go like this. When we are doing like this, when we are working like this by ourselves, then we can say that is our country developed. Means if every people are doing like this, then means our country, entire country, is developed. See, during pandemic we have seen that is NGOs, what it did, that is fabulous. But we, most of our celebrities and rich people, what they did is, they gave, that is they transferred crores of rupees to fund, that is PM fund. I'm not against of that. What I'm saying is, yes, obviously they helped might be some of the people, but we can't say all the people got help from that, because it's not possible also. So what we can do is, transferring money to other fund or other thing, we can start our own NGO, or we can be a part of NGO to help our near people, not to other state, not to country, or not to other country. First we have to start from our near people. So when we are doing that is, when we are helping our near people, that is all the people of this country, helping near people, we can improve, that is we can develop our country also. So what I'm doing is, most of the people have that is one kind of perception, that is education, it is waste now, because they teach what is there in book. But personally, when I was student, I also had same thing. I wanted to become all but not teacher, but today I'm teacher. So why I'm teacher? Because I want to change something, that is people have the perception that is it teaches only what book has. So what I do is, what book that I teach, what book doesn't have. So obviously we have to teach, that is what book has, rather with that we have to teach other also. So our students must know how to lead their life, and why they have to come school, and what is the perception, what is the true definition of education. This and all they should know. So that's what, to make changes in education, I become a teacher. So first we have to see our nearby people, then we have to go state, then we have to see country and all. If we are doing this, we can change entire our country. This is what my perception towards NGO.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Sabina. And you said that charity begins from home. So your views are that. Thank you very much, Ms. Sabina. Now my next youth guest is Ms. Suman S. Sattawar. Ms. Suman, you have heard the earlier our chief guest, Ms. Sarita Jadhav, as well as earlier youth guest. Now we would like to know from you the role of youth in NGOs. Please introduce yourself and then go ahead.
Good morning to everyone here. I am Sumana Sattawar from School of Social Work, Roshni Nilaya, Mangalore. I'm pursuing my BA in Psychology, Criminology and Rural Development, Mangalore. And I would like to thank Sir Lal Goyal and Paul sir for giving me this opportunity. And thank you, Sarita ma'am, for giving such enriching words. I would like to start my speech or the thoughts about role of NGOs in role of youth in NGOs. Each and every Indian can make a difference, especially the nation's youth. There's a quote from the book Mission India, written by a former president, late APJ Abdul Kalam. Working with youth is a relatively new idea in India. People often ask a question: how does working with young people actually lead to social change? Youths are fighters. They fight for problems that the world faces today. They need good morals and values to handle conflicts in a positive way. A youth is any person between the age of 15 years and 30 years, regardless of gender. Today, India is one of the youngest nations in the world, with more than 62% of its population in the working age group, that is 15 to 59 years. The youth are the backbone of society, as told by my youth speakers. This is because all of the other age group, the kids, teenagers, middle age, and the senior citizens rely on the youth and expect a lot from them. Therefore, due to the high dependence on youth in society, we youth have a role to play, because the future of our families, communities, and the country lies in our hands. The role of the youth is simply to renew, refresh, and maintain. Youth have a role to are expected to advance the current technology, education, politics, peace of the country. On the other hand, youths have also maintained the culture of our culture and all good values in the society. So, role of youth in NGOs. So let me give this my understanding of it. To understand India, we need to work with NGOs who are deeply working with marginalized youth, women, children, senior citizens, and sexual minorities, physically disabled, HIV positive people, people who are displaced for various reasons. Young people can participate as community planners in community development work. Using education and training, they can learn skills and knowledge they need. And applying the knowledge, they can guide the younger people and adults too. Youth collaborating with NGOs lead them to skill enhancement. Obviously, personal experience, me working with an NGO called Samvada, that is it's a Bangalore-based youth resource center where young youths are trained how to be skillful leaders. So young people can participate in community planners in community development work. Using education, training, they can learn skills and knowledge they need, and applying the knowledge, they can guide the younger people and adults too. Working with various NGOs from grassroots level to the national level can bring a massive difference in the youth of India, because learning and understanding the struggles of this community can make you see a different perspective. It makes you want to be compassionate and gives the youth a feeling of purpose to work forward in life. Social workers are a knowledge of bank. Exactly like Sarita ma'am, who has been in this field for a very long time, we as youth, we get to learn a lot from them. Like their experience working with grassroots level, from grassroots in a state and national level, we understand the different perspective, culture, tradition, how we can improve as individuals. Now, how can we encourage our youth in participating in NGOs? Give youth an opportunity to contribute and offer their input. Allow active collaboration between adults and youth. Integrate youth into committees with adults who can act as mentors. Definitely, youth need guidance in life. That time we look up to our parents, who are our first mentors. Later on in life, when we want to move forward in life, we need certain mentors who can guide us. From relationship with teachers who engage youth in community concerns to increase youth involvement, connect youth to policy efforts by including them in assessment of current policies and potential policies. Encourage youth to identify their own interests and activities where they can make positive changes. Allow youth to confront serious social problems and become active community citizens. Evaluate youth involvement efforts on a regular basis to identify and capitalize on strength, identify and address weaknesses, and helping gain more meaningful youth participation.
Please
Youth
conclude.
Yes. Youths are valuable resource for organizations and groups involved in community development. Now, there is a NGO that is called MAD, that means Make a Difference. It's an India's non-profit organization, which is actually in Mangalore too, where I was closely associated, where we get orphan children, we train them, give them academic training and even skillful training, where we get to bond with them and give them a sense of purpose. And there's another NGO called Samvada, which I have recently mentioned. Even their purpose is to building leaders for the future. Yes. No segment in society can match with the power, idealism, enthusiasm, and courage of the young people.
Thank you, Ms. Suman. Because of the paucity of time, I have to cut short you. Thank you very much. Ms. Sinduri, are you there now? Please go ahead.
Yes, I'm there.
Yeah, please
sorry
go
for
ahead.
the inconvenience.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for giving me this opportunity, and thank you, Sarita ma'am, for your inspiring speech. My name is Sinduri, and I work as a senior analyst in a financial company. Today, we are going to talk about the topic role of youth in NGOs. So for this purpose of discussion, I would consider youth to be the stage of life between 15 to around 40 years. That way, 50% of Indian population were considered to be youth when we are talking about social services. So what is an NGO? NGO is a non-profit organization which are organized for different causes. That causes may be social, humanitarian, and environmental causes. So coming to youth, a lot of positive social changes occurring today in the world and in our country are mostly being implemented by the youth. So we consider youth will be the major force change and brilliantly, as they contribute brilliantly themselves into social services, it is evident that they would be the future of the society. And because of their efforts, we could also see global recognitions coming to them. So there are many benefits of youth coming into the NGO space. So for example, immense energy we could see in the youth, fresh ideas we can see from the youth, the enthusiastic energy. When we compared youth from other segments, we could see that more enthusiastic youth are, and new discoverable ideas from youth we could see. So coming to immense energy, as Sarita ma'am said, youth are considered to be the powerful change agents who has enormous potential to bring the positive changes in the society. And then new discoveries. The discoveries which are being implemented in the around the country are mostly being done by the youth. So, so depending upon the area of interest, youth can choose the area of NGOs to work with. Like if you see in rural areas, we could see that there is no proper education, and health conditions are not better in rural areas compared to urban. So, and also we could see lack of hygiene in rural areas. Not only in rural areas, these days we are seeing it in urban also. So we could also see child labor. We could also see women illiteracy, poverty, and environmental pollution. So depending upon the interest of the youth, they can choose any of the services they could wish to provide. So NGOs maybe set up our own, or we can start working with any of the existing NGOs. I could give you a live example of one of the NGOs which I visited recently in my premises of Hyderabad, which is Make a Difference, MAD. MAD is one of the NGOs which I visited recently. So I could tell you that MAD was started with six group of people, friends, at Kochi in 2006. Only with 6 people it was started, and now it contains more than 4,000 volunteers who are mostly youth, and it works for around 8,000 plus children. So the volunteers who are working in that MAD help the children in their education and also provide moral support to them. So what I would like to conclude is, let us give back to the society. What else?
Okay.
Hello.
So, yeah. Yes. Thank you very much, Ms. Sinduri. You rightly said that what we have, we should give back to the society also. Now, because of the paucity of time, now I would like to request our chief guest, Ms. Sarita Jadhav. You have 3 minutes to conclude, give the concluding remark. Ms. Sarita Jadhav, please.
Okay. Yeah, it's thank you, Dr. Goel, and thank you to all our youth speakers. I think all of you are very inspirational. It's been a pleasure hearing all of you. And the thing is that it's all of you have the commitment, you have the motivation. And as we just discussed that, each one of us can make a change in other people's life. So the thing is that, as I said, that, it's very, very important that we think. We have an opportunity. All of you could be engineers, you could be doctors, you could be teachers, you could be professionals in any field. But please think about how could we contribute meaningfully. It's very easy to sit and criticize that a particular NGO is not doing good work or a particular NGO is corrupt. Please try and understand the ground realities. Try and see how you can contribute, how you can work closely with that NGO. There are lots of NGOs, and I'd just like to say that years ago, in collaboration with IGNOU, UNAIDS started a whole program which was called a Certificate in NGO Management. It's very, very important. We talk about NGOs, but many NGOs, both in rural as well as urban areas, don't have the capacity to implement programs. Well, how do we plan? How do we implement? How do we budget? How do we get resources? So that NGO management program is still being done by IGNOU. Those of you interested could actually go on the website of IGNOU, take a look at it. If you are unable to find resources, please come back to me or to Dr. Goel. We'd be happy to share more information. So we've already talked about the various areas where you could make a difference. Think about people, women, disadvantaged, positive people. There are so many children who are HIV positive. There are women who are HIV positive. They're working in NGOs, and they don't need rocket scientists. You just need some bit of commitment, some bit of sincerity, some bit of willingness to give your time. How can you work in improving somebody's life? How can you help somebody to live with dignity? And I count upon each one of you young people that you will do your best. And I wish you all the very best in your future endeavors. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Sarita Jadhav, for giving such an encouraging words to all the youth who are participating and all those who are viewing. And not only the youth, I am sure that even the senior citizens like me are also motivated and inspired by you. So today you have seen that how the youths can play a very, very important role as far as the NGOs are concerned. And NGOs are nothing. It's just giving back or doing something for the upliftment of the society for those who are underprivileged. If we all decide, after all, why should we depend only on the government or even for the NGOs? We all, as a civil society, it is our duty to do ourselves. And if we are doing such type of work, you yourself is an NGO. So try to be an NGO yourself, motivate others, and do something which will be beneficial for the society. So thank you very much, all the participants. And today's program, which has been live telecasted by V4 News, Global TV, V4 Stream, Malnadu TV, News Gaon se Samvad Sarocar News, as well as first shown live on Facebook and YouTube. Our endeavor is to bring to you every day a new topic. And tomorrow is a very, very current and hot topic, and that is media conference with Lal Goyal at 10:30 a.m. Rise and fall of Indian media. And our participants are Dr. Bharat Kumar Raut, former member of parliament, renowned political analyst, print and TV journalist, Mumbai. Dr. Mukesh Sharma, former Director General Films Division of India and Additional Director of Doordarshan Ministry of Information Broadcasting. Advocate Ramesh Kumar Sharma, Mathura, and Advocate Trilok Nath Saxena, Supreme Court, New Delhi. Please tune in tomorrow for media conference with Lal Goyal at 10:30 a.m. To watch this very hot and relevant topic. Now, thank you very much, Chief Guest, Ms. Sarita Jadhav, for giving such an inspirational and motivational talk about NGOs. And I'm sure all our young participants who have participated today are enriched, and even those who are viewing are also enriched. And thank you all our young participants, youths who have given their views. And thank you all viewers for watching our show. Thank you.